For more on this ban, I'm joined by Norman O'Reilly via Skype. He is chair of the Sports Administration Department at Ohio University's College of Business. Well, let me start. Vladimir Putin meeting with Western reporters in the last couple of hours in St. Petersburg. He was asked about this, and he said basically that this, as he put it, is an anti-Russia policy. It's basically motivated by the West. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, hi, Mike. Good evening. It's great to be here and to be able to comment. I think this is one of these sport business decisions where you have to look at it from every perspective. And clearly, Putin, as any leader of their country would do, is going to do everything possible to get his team back into the game. That's what any president or prime minister around the world. And he's faced with, WADA, who's a very strong organization now, and as a third party, not part of the IOC, which is why it was set up in that way, has come forward with this. It's supported by the International Federation, which is the IAAF, who's the member of the IOC. And so from that perspective, it's going to be very challenging. We can certainly understand the strategy he's taking to try to get his athletes back in around there, as we just heard, their concerns, the athletes who are clean, the athletes who are getting, losing this chance of a lifetime that they've been pursuing because of a larger decision.
Yeah, you think about these athletes and how much time they put into preparing for something like this. Dick Pound is the founding president of the World Anti-Doping Agency. He says it's not beyond the realms of possibility that the IOC could overturn this decision, but he described it as the nuclear option. What are your thoughts on that? Is Russia just too big to ban?
Well, I know Mr. Pound very, very well, and he is fellow Canadian, and he was one of the champions and remains a champion of the anti-doping movement. And as we've learned in the past, the anti-doping agencies like USADA with the Lance Armstrong case, which we all know so well, only tend to go forward when they have very strong evidence. And so these are strong organizations. So I think what he's suggesting is that the IOC would look at an appeal, of course, if something goes through the court for arbitration for sport, of course, an individual athlete, if they can make a very clear case that they're outside of whatever evidence that WADA and the IAAF have put together to make this decision, that they would certainly look at it. But I think what he's saying is that they have very strong evidence, and history would show that these anti-doping agencies don't go forward with this level of decision, like the Armstrong case, without a full, very, very strong set of data and a case to back them up.
And Norma, what about the broad strokes complaint? The Russian sports ministry saying clean athletes' dreams being destroyed because of the reprehensible behavior of other athletes and officials, talking about how they've sacrificed years of their lives striving to compete in the Olympics. Now that sacrifice looks like it's totally wasted. We have some athletes saying they want to challenge this in the court. What about that argument?
It's really powerful. And I mean, I never was an Olympian, but a former athlete. I'm the deputy chef for the Canadian team heading to the Paralympic Games in Rio. I deal a lot with the athletes, and we saw it around the boycotts in 76, 80, and 84. We've seen, countries deciding for political reasons not to go. We've seen, if you're not, it's not your own decision, but it's part of a larger decision or between federations and organizations, that anything specific against you, that's really awful. And as we know, to make the Olympic Games in any country of the world requires thousands of hours and dozens of years and training, sacrifices by parents, by family, by friends, and they're only once every 4 years. So it is a really powerful case, and I believe that's why the IOC and the IAAF and the way they've come forward is they will look at individual cases, because you really have to, because you've almost got one chance. Most athletes get to one Olympics or have a shot at one, and rarely 4 years later will they have a chance to come back unless you're amongst the elite of the very elite. So it is a strong, strong argument.
Norm, we only have about 20 seconds or so. Talk to me about this quote, there's a very tiny crack in the door for our Russians to compete. How is that going to work, and will they be even happy about doing that if they can't represent their own country?
Yeah, it would be tricky, and I think that comes down to an individual decision. You think back to the boycott of the 1980 Games. I mean, Canadians and Americans didn't go. The British made a decision where the athletes could still go if they chose to. And there was various different decisions going on, and it's one that you would want to leave to the athlete to decide. If they can make an irrefutable case and they could go and compete at the Games, I think most would want to.
Norman O'Reilly joining us from Ontario. Thanks so much. Well, it's been more.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.